Good morning. I'm Attorney Edwin Lacierda, and this is The Spokes. From the palace halls then to our group chats now, we'll be giving you conversations that will make you think and assess, so that you could come up with your own personal opinion. So for our first noted by the Spokes topic, President Marcos has issued a direct challenge to former Congressman Saldico, telling him to stop hiding and return to the Philippines and face all allegations lodged against him. And I think this is a valid statement by President Marcos. He's been going around, he's been telling the people what he knows about the flood control briberies, and yet he's abroad, releasing his third video, this time making more allegations related to budget insertions and corruption. The language used by the President is stronger and more pointed than previous statements. Palaban na ang ating Pangulo. Coast Counsel has not confirmed whether Co has any intention to return, despite the President's direct challenge. Coast claims lacking credibility if he remains abroad and does not face authorities. Observers note that the pattern Saldico appears to be releasing his claims in stages, possibly to maximize public impact, with no documentary evidence so far. But many are questioning why he still wears the same dress. Different hairstyle this time. Co is now officially a fugitive from justice after the DILG deadline ended yesterday. So, it's something that we would also urge Saldico to come back. You know, your testimony would have no value and no credibility if you don't come back. So I urge Attorney Rondain to convince his client to come home. For our next stop, noted by the Spokes topic, a Pasig Regional Trial Court granted the motion to cancel the passports of 4 individuals facing charges: Harry Roque, Cassandra Ong, Ronaldin Baterina, and Dennis Cunanan. This is a welcome development, because yesterday we only had Winston Casio here, and I remember that they were not doing anything because the warrant of arrest were already issued sometime in May, and up till yesterday, nothing was happening. So it was a welcome development that Pasig RTC Branch 157 canceled the passports of 4 accused: Herminio Harry Lopez Roque. Wow, that's a long name. First time I've heard that name. Catherine Leong, Ronaldin Baterina, and Dennis Cunanan. So, we hope that the DFA is expected to implement this cancellation immediately. I think they have no reason anymore to withhold canceling the passport. And this means that those people cannot legally travel internationally. And along with an Interpol red notice, they can easily be tracked and apprehended. This development came hours after the Spokes episode yesterday with PAOK spokes Winston Casio. And I think it's not to, I think Winston Casio was very loquacious, but he was put on the spot a bit. But I'd like to thank PAOK spokesperson Winston Casio and PAOK itself and the government for the swift action on this matter. It's been a while. So this is perhaps one effect of the Spokes effect, where you show media speaking truth to power and putting pressure on the government to work fast. And we'd like to thank government also, commend government for acting in a swift way. This wraps up our Noted by the Spokes for today, and we get to personally meet one of the country's most talked about young lawmakers who just saved the iconic Solidaridad Bookshop from closure, when the Spokes return after this short break. And the Spokes is back. Joining us is a very dynamic and young lawmaker, Congressman Leandro Leviste of Batangas 1st District. Welcome to the Spokes, Cong Leandro.
Thank you for having me.
Good. So, I understand that you just recently acquired La Solidaridad. And do you have a personal relationship with F. Nilse?
He was a longtime friend of my mom's.
Oh, okay.
And I visited the bookshop a few times when I was in school. And I learned that they were going to close it down if new owners wouldn't keep it running.
How did you know that they were about to close it down?
They actually, I think, reached out to my mom.
Oh, okay. So, and when you visited, so what are your memories when you were young?
Well, when I was young, I was always researching books on the history of the Philippines, Filipiniana, sociology, and these were not available in most commercial bookstores. But doing research found they were in Solidaridad, so I bought some books there when I was in high school.
And how do you intend to operate a La Solidaridad, considering the fact that we're going digital, everything is going digital, and I suppose you bought it for sentimental value?
Yes, I don't think that you would make any money, and you wouldn't lose that much either by operating a bookshop. But considering how many people I talk to have been customers at La Solidaridad, I think there could be a market to at least even expand the selection of books and to give a place for people who want books that are not available in mainstream bookstores.
It's a very niche market, right? They're selling very specialty books in a sense.
Yes.
So how do you intend to increase market share? At the very least, increase the readership or the customer base of La Solidaridad?
I don't think it needs to make money.
Oh, okay. So it's going to be, for lack of a better term, a losing proposition for you, but you don't mind losing money?
But at least if it's a thing of historical value, then perhaps one day it would be a rarity to have a bookshop with that much history to it to keep alive. So perhaps in the future, there would be a reason.
If that's your intent, why don't you just
alive.
go to National Historical Museum and ask that be declared a heritage thing? It's not a bad idea because it's been there for quite some time.
Yes, that would be a good idea.
And make it sure that at least whatever benefits you get from being called a national heritage would be good for La Solidaridad. But you've been acquiring a number of companies. Can you share about where your source of wealth came from?
I built a solar company over 10 years.
Right.
And actually, funnily enough, one of your co-hosts, Attorney Mike Toledo, was one of the people who brought me to become an intern at Meralco in 2013. And after that, I started my solar company, and we did a project in SM where
I remember
you
that
worked.
because Pinoy, during our time, you launched it during Pinoy's time.
Yes.
And in fact, he was there, and I remember that particular, and that was yours pala.
Yes,
Good.
that was my first commercial undertaking. And then under the Pinoy administration, the feed-in tariff was also launched.
Okay, yes.
And our first solar farm in my home district, Calatagan, Batangas, was inaugurated also by Pinoy in 2016. And after that, I sold shares in my solar farm to Korea Electric Power Corporation and used those proceeds to develop other projects, including a Nueva Ecija farm that I sold shares of to the public and then sold to Meralco.
Before you sold your shares, what was the total hectareage of all your solar farms?
The Nueva Ecija solar farm is actually said to be the largest single-site solar battery project in the world.
Oh, okay.
3,500 hectares.
All right.
And
Has it been fully developed?
the project is under construction, but basically the story for my business, if we can go into that,
Sure.
is 95% of the value is in that one project. And we were able to raise money to buy 3,000 or so hectares of land and then sell it along with the other developments on that land to Meralco at a multiple times value.
So how many multiples?
Maybe 5 times.
5x? That's pretty good.
Because it happened to be a place that had previously been undeveloped. There was even no farming in that area.
My understanding also is that your company is the only one with a franchise. Is that correct?
Actually, that's a different company.
Oh, okay.
So,
but that was also sold.
no.
You still own it.
Actually, I donated it
Oh, to whom?
to actually the town still has the assets, and we're in the process of giving the assets to the town.
To the town.
Yes, because I learned that you don't need to do too many things in business.
Are you giving? Are you donating it in effect?
Yes.
And you're donating how many percent of the
All of it.
company? All of it. Do they have the skill set to operate a solar farm?
Well, that's why it's taking time for us to turn it over. Because I learned that you don't need to do too many things in business, because if you have one thing that works, it is best to just concentrate on that one thing. And again, we were able to make multiple times our invested capital in the Nueva Ecija project because here was a place that had large potential that was not seen by the market. And then Meralco suddenly needed renewable energy because the rest of the market wasn't able to come up with enough supply. So they were needing to pay up to secure the supply.
And it so happened it was accelerated because President Duterte decided no more coal-fired power plant.
Actually, it began with the Renewable Energy Law of 2009 that required utilities to procure a certain percentage of their supply from renewables, which took more than 10 years to take effect.
Right.
So it was really many years in the making
Did
that
your
the
mom
demand
have
of
a
RE
hand,
go up.
because she's an environmental champion, did your mom have a hand in making sure that the country shifts away from coal-fired to renewable?
I was actually in high school when the renewable energy law was made. Maybe the correlation is, or causation is in reverse. That I.
Oh, you mean you convinced your mom?
No. That I was exposed to environmentalism and then got into renewables because
You're not
I
giving
grew up
credit to
around
your
it.
mom for
No, what I'm saying is that I give credit to her for exposing me to
I see.
environmentalism when I was young, which is perhaps why it is not a coincidence that I looked into renewables in 2013. But I would give credit to Elon Musk for giving me the idea to go into solar in 2013 too.
But you didn't speak to him. It's just the inspiration of Elon.
I've been to Tesla
okay.
because we bought some batteries there in 2017.
So now that you've disposed some of your solar farms and you had the money, so you decided to acquire a lot of assets, one of them being ABS, Meralco?
Yes, we sold to Meralco in December 2023, and I was investing in actually many old companies because I think some of these things of sentimental value also have rarity to them.
Like what old companies that you mentioned?
Well, one is we have a publicly disclosed investment in Rojas Holdings, Central Azucarera Don Pedro
yes,
in
I remember
Nasugbu.
that.
And that's actually in my district, where one of the reasons I saw the potential was I used to pass it all the time growing up, and it shut down because of the demise of the sugar industry. But the potential, I think, is for that area to be eventually developed for real estate.
But there's a bit of, I understand from the news that there's a bit of a problem, or has the problem been resolved in the Rojas Holdings?
There's many problems, both on the land in some cases, but also on the viability of the sugar business.
I see.
Which is why the sugar business has shut down.
Right.
And again, my view is that for these places that are well located near Manila, there is a great potential for real estate development, which will hopefully create jobs, and I think is one of the easier ways to get a good return while at the same time helping people.
What's your, that's one thing. What's your principle when you're acquiring these businesses?
Well, first, it has to be a good investment, which is not only in terms of its value, but also a low price. And that's why the old companies tend to be sold at lower prices. Right. And secondly, that I like real estate because I think it's a business where what's good for the public is correlated for the business, compared to a business where you have to charge high prices at the expense of the public. In real estate, actually, the way that Makati or BGC developed was you increased the GDP of the area,
right,
which creates jobs for people and at the same time increases land values.
But you need a long runway for that.
Yes, and I have chosen this because I am in my early 30s, so I can wait 50 years.
But not only age, but also find cash or money.
Which is why people typically begin in another business and then diversify into real estate.
Okay, so after that, you've also acquired. Let's talk about the acquisition of ABS. Why did you acquire ABS?
Well, that was more opportunistic because the price had tanked, and typically companies in the Philippine Stock Exchange don't have big blocks for sale, but there were foreign investors that were willing to get out at any price.
So you bought it from them, yeah.
They were actually selling
right.
in the market, and then they sold to some other investors, and then those investors were selling in the market as well. So the
So you bought it from the secondary market?
yes, so the market had unusually high selling volume, which
So they were really disposing because of what's happening to ABS.
well, it had already happened a few years before the time they were disposing, but the foreign investors, I think also just wanted to get out of the Philippines, and that's why the Philippine Stock Exchange has
It's in the
been
doldrums, yeah.
at the same level it was 12 years ago.
Right, right. Because I think now it's about 5,500 or something.
Yes.
It's quite low. It's not really doing well.
While the global markets are up maybe 50% in the same time. So we're not only down 20% over the last 8 years, we're also maybe down 50 or 60% relative to global markets.
A few years ago, you sold 13.5 billion SPNEC stake to Meralco. Why did you do that?
Because,
What's SPNEC anyway?
well, as I said a while ago, the main thing sold was
The
the
Nueva
project
Ecija.
with the land in Nueva Ecija. And it happened to just be the only big land bank to serve Meralco's renewable energy requirements. And I think the role for an entrepreneur is to develop the project, but they have since been able to raise around 200 billion pesos to build the power plant. And I would not be in as good a position to raise 200 billion pesos as Meralco. And actually, this is not really much reported, but they have since actually also brought in the largest foreign investment in an infrastructure project in Philippine history.
This is what
Actis Investment is a
I know
company
Actis.
that
I'm
was
familiar with Actis, yeah.
that was selected by Meralco for the project. But hopefully, the company can be able to attract more foreign investment to boost our infrastructure
Because
in
there
this
is
way.
a demand for renewable energy because of the hyperscale data centers that are being built right now. Singapore has now a moratorium on the hyperscale data centers. So you've got the likes of Google, AWS, Oracle, looking at setting up data centers here. And one of the requirements is that your energy should be renewable rather than coal-fired. So that's where there's a big interest in the Philippines right now, especially on the hyperscale data centers. And it's a good, maybe shouldn't have disposed because it's really doing well right now. I mean, there's a huge interest in the Philippines. But anyway, you can still acquire more farms. But anyway, but that's really where we are. So, and after SPNEC, so now Solidaridad, what other plans what other acquisitions do you have in mind?
Well, like I said a while ago, my focus is on land banking basically for the future. And
you still continue to land bank?
I mean, I can afford to grow old waiting for
so if you
the
don't
place
mind,
to develop.
If you don't mind me asking, Congressman, how big is your land bank now?
That's a very pointed question. A few thousand hectares.
A few thousand, a high thousand, low thousand?
Actually, compared to other members of Congress, it's quite small.
Okay, but you're focused on a certain area or all over the Philippines?
I believe in a concentrated portfolio.
And that I would assume that will be in somewhere in Batangas?
Yes.
Or no more in Nueva Ecija? Why do you choose? I understand why you're choosing Batangas, but if you're going to acquire lands other than Batangas, what would be your basis for making a decision to buy?
Well,
I hope you don't mind me asking
I
this.
think you wouldn't be ill-advised to just focus on one area. Because look at this beautiful background you have here of BGC.
Yeah.
I think the country needs many more pockets of development like that because that's really where we can create jobs.
So you're planning to replicate something like a second-tier cities where, like Iloilo, it's now
Yes.
very. Do you have something in mind for Batangas?
Maybe over 30 years.
Oh, okay.
It's a long-term investment.
So the sale of SPNEC was used also to fund a foundation with perpetual dividends. Can you explain this?
Oh, yes. I donated around 6 billion pesos worth of shares to a foundation that will ensure there is a perpetual source of funding for allowances for students in my district.
Okay.
Because I already did give 1,000 pesos to 150,000 students in my district to also see where they would spend it. And many of them bought PE uniforms,
What
shoes.
is the name of the foundation?
The Leviste Foundation.
So that's your foundation.
Yes.
Okay.
And this is also because I filed a bill on my first day for the government to do this nationwide. And people were saying, oh, maybe they'll use the 1,000 pesos for scatter. But I saw that it was well spent. And in other countries, maybe these things are given in kind. But because government procurement is not very efficient, I agree that financial assistance to students should be given in cash.
It's some sort of a social welfare that you're providing, some safety nets. Do you think that this program of yours can be replicated by government in one fashion or another?
Well, that's the bill I filed, coinciding with my also doing it in my philanthropic capacity, because I think we have maybe 200 billion pesos of ayuda in the 2026 budget, and that could instead go to giving maybe 1,000 pesos a month to every K-12 student in the country. And instead of ayuda, investing in education at least would have more of a rationale for having a sustainable return to the country by increasing our human capital.
So this is the first time I think most of the people have heard you speak about business, and that's not something that most people are aware of, only on the business side of the news. No? But you have already dipped your hands in politics, maintaining the Levistes hold in Batangas. How is your relationship with the Rectos and other Batangas political family? But before you answer this, the spokes will return after this short break. And the spokes is back, still with Congressman Leandro Leviste. Our hanging question a while ago is, how's your relationship with the Rectos and other Batangas political family? Do you consider the Rectos as allies or potential political rivals?
We actually supported each other in the 2025 elections, and I actually took my oath to Senator or Secretary Ralph Recto.
Oh, okay. Now he's the ES. But let me ask you a very pointed question. I heard your interview with Karen Davila, and you mentioned about Guardiola. And you mentioned, apart from Manny Bonoan, there are two cabinet officials that are linked with Guardiola. You didn't name them, but because this Guardiola is a Batangas congressman, I would assume that who you're referring to are also...
Can I break something on your show now?
Okay, sure.
Okay.
This is always a show that breaks news.
Last week I said there are not one but two.
Yes, you said two.
And I'm saying not linked, but have previously proposed projects that were awarded to.
Okay.
It's, as it turns out, not just two. So far, it's three.
Okay, can you name them?
And other than those three, there's a fourth who is also connected. And I think the point is the following.
Mm-hmm.
By
the way, you cannot not mention their names because you've already identified four politicians. So it's incumbent on you. By the way, there's a saying in law, he who alleges must prove the same.
Yes.
So I expect you to name those four politicians.
So this is, I think, hopefully a valid point. The government has said that maraming magpapasko sa kulungan.
Correct.
At maraming makakasuhan bago mag-December 15.
Correct.
And I think in the public's interest, it is not to cast these intrigues as an end in itself, but for the end to be that the government file a case on a man whom I believe is the largest contractor still in Congress.
Yes.
And I said that if the cases are filed, then that proves that there is no protecting Congressman Garjola.
Yes, I agree with you there.
And I wouldn't want to distract and burn bridges and deviate attention to those whom might be protecting him just yet. But if cases are not filed by December 15, then I will.
So let me ask you one question, and you're free to answer or not. Are you referring to Ralph Recto as one of those cabinet officials being from Batangas?
I actually don't want to single out one because there's actually...
I'm asking you right now to just give a yes or no answer.
I hope you can see that there is a strategy which is to ensure that the people who have illegally profited from DPWH contracts can be held to account. It is not necessarily to attract media attention as an end in itself, but it's that we want, for example, if someone had stolen 10 billion pesos from DPWH contracts, get the government to recover that wealth, which I think can be easily done for people that have lots of assets.
But you want to
in the
recover it
Philippines.
from all the culprits, all the perpetrators, not just the one who acted on it, but those who also benefited or profited from it. Would
That's
you
a
agree?
very good idea. And one thing I'd actually like to propose is that everyone who received campaign donations from DPWH contractors give them back.
Well, that's part of COMELEC has a requirement that you cannot have donations from contractors, right? So, but my point is,
Yes, I'm saying we should all give it back because I think one other thing that's not reported enough is that basically the vast majority of politicians in the country's campaigns have been funded by DPWH contractors.
by the way, you've always this is the second time I've heard from you. I hope you don't mind me asking that you have floated possible connections, possible corruption of corrupt officials. No? The first one was, I think, Ari Perez, Yusek Ari Perez, where you mentioned, and then he resigned.
And by the
And
way,
then, and then he turned around, and then you said
I did not.
but the news that said that
Yes.
you withdrew your accusation against him because you weren't referring to Ari Perez.
I was. So
Wait. You had a statement na si Ari Perez, and then nung nag-resign, you made the statement na there's one of the
Yes.
USECs who met with a contractor. And then Ari Perez resigned.
Okay, if I may clarify.
Yes.
I said that there are multiple appointees in DPWH who are connected to contractors and some that are
Right,
contractors. And I said that the one who was pictured in a Chinese restaurant in Manila Hotel meeting with 3 contractors was not Ari Perez.
You said that. It's not Ari Perez.
And Ari Perez has connections with other contractors.
But you mentioned also recently in Karen's show that, yes, you have proof now that Ari...
So what I'm saying is that the one in the picture with contractors is another one.
Okay.
And Ari Perez is another one.
Correct.
And that I have, thank you for reviewing that transcript, proof of the connection of Ari and other appointees, including those who are contractors. And actually, if I can just disclose the following, I'm asking DPWH to be the one to come clean because I don't want to be perceived as putting them in a bad light. And if they don't, then I will.
For the record, have you spoken to Secretary Vince Dizon in this regard?
Yes.
And so, if he's asked, if Vince is asked, and he will confirm that you've spoken about Ari Perez.
I asked them to come clean with the connections that both of us know appointees in DPWH have to contractors.
So, did you specifically, when you spoke to Vince Dizon, did you specifically mention Ari Perez as one of those who you believe have connections with the contractors?
We didn't dwell on those details, but
you said you met with them, so
Yes.
but it's,
Yes.
you're very specific in your accusation,
the
which
answer
is
is yes.
valid if you have evidence.
the answer is yes. They know what I know, and they know the same before I even said it.
Okay.
And I'm asking them to come clean to the public about the connections that the appointees have with contractors.
Are you giving them a deadline in the same way that you're giving Guardiola or December 15 a deadline?
Yes, we're actually in continuing discussions now.
So, but when do you sense that if they continue to be intransigent, that you will reveal it?
Soon.
What is soon? Soon is a very relative term. So, we here in Spokes are very specific.
I'm talking to them this week.
This week,
I'm talking to them this week, following up on them
them
coming
is
clean.
refers to Vince Dizon.
Another person in DPWH.
Okay, and then if they refuse to, there's a possibility that they may rebut you or agree
Yes,
with you and reveal it.
if they're listening to this interview, we are talking this week, and if they don't come clean to the public after we talk this week, then I will do so very soon.
And if you're wrong,
I have the evidence that is incontrovertible.
referring to
Multiple appointees.
that have photos, but those
Yes.
photos are in and of itself. Do you think that's
Not
that's
only
already,
photos,
What other evidence do you have?
even some appointees who are contractors.
Oh, so you're saying that that is a disqualifying and they should not have been appointed by Vince Dizon.
Yes, so there's many.
Right.
Some who have connections, and some who are.
So you are, by the mere fact that they are connected and they are contractors.
Well,
These are all, you're referring to all.
Especially if some of the contractors are being investigated by the DPWH, then they are compromised in doing investigations on people whom they are connected
Then that
to.
would make a good point. If you're able to identify contractors, which they have not up to the present time
Yes.
filed cases.
Sir, kaya ako naglalakas ng loob na banggitin ito kasi hawak ko po ang ebidensya. Gusto ko lang po sila ang magbunyag nito sa publiko.
Magaling na ang Tagalog niya, mas magaling pa ang Tagalog niya kaysa sa akin. Ako hindi. Pero the point is, so you're giving them a deadline sometime.
Mag-uusap kami lang ngayong linggo. Titingnan namin pagkatapos ng aming pag-uusap kung sila ang maglalabas nitong impormasyon.
Okay. You mentioned also that your interview with Karen was very fascinating. You have a lot of stories to tell. You mentioned also that ICI went to the office of Yusek Cabral and it was found to be cordoned off. I just had a text coming from, we receive a lot of texts. Attorney Hosaka was interviewed in another radio program and he said it never exists. Never happened.
Look, okay, so I think I saw their press con where he said that he...
No, he's talking right now
Yes.
with another radio station.
Yes, and
Walang ganyan nangyari, sabi ni Hosaka.
I saw his press con where
right.
this was asked, and he said when he joined the ICI September 20-something, that didn't happen. Because what I'm claiming is that in early September, it was cordoned off. He wasn't in ICI yet. ICI was started, I think, 3rd week of September.
Let me just
Let
quote you.
let me say,
Okay.
there was a commissioner and there was a lawyer,
Okay.
2 separate individuals of ICI that told me on 2 separate occasions that it was cordoned off. And it's a simple fact. They have not been given the computer of Yusek Cabral. So
Why do you need a computer? The redundancy of documents. I mean, it's designed to
the
be
files,
redundant.
they have not been given the files. Kahit USB, they haven't been given.
But a USB is just one piece of to preserve documents.
Yes, what I'm saying is they don't have the files of Yusek Cabral.
But aren't those files already been? President Bongbong Marcos already told Vince Dizon
Yes.
to collect all the documents to be submitted to.
And this is why I think this is a very important story that hasn't been told. The ICI told me, I'm saying this with no qualification.
Who in ICI told you?
Commissioner, former Secretary Singson, and another lawyer, not to just pin it on.
No,
on,
that's
on
fine.
Commissioner Singson.
It's important that you mention names.
A member of the ICI legal team, in that same meeting and in a discussion after that meeting,
Okay.
repeated the same. They have not been given the files of Yusek Cabral, which includes the proponents of the projects that are being investigated, many of whom are politicians, members of Congress. So maybe there's a reason why they're not giving the files. And that's why I went to the ICI, because
When was this?
I went there, I think, last Tuesday. And again, the ICI's answer is, when the ICI was formed, the office was no longer cordoned off. Because it was before the ICI was formed that Yusek Cabral actually left DPWH. But in the transition period, then it seems the computers were taken out of the office.
But wait a minute, do you know who's occupying the office of Yusek Cabral now?
Maybe
it's
it's
no
the-
longer. Is it still cordoned?
No, definitely not. So
Okay.
it-
Are the computers no longer? You're
Yes.
saying the computers are no
Yes.
longer
So-
there.
So the most important fact is the bottom line. The ICI, they can kindly check, has not been given the list of proponents of the projects in the DPWH budget, and having that list will be actually essential in knowing who else is behind the ghost projects that they are investigating.
Okay, let me just say this. I've seen a social media card when it said that 100 boxes of DPWH evidence have been submitted either to the ICI or to the Ombudsman. And this is the exact quote from Attorney Hosaka. There was never a situation that ICI did not have access to DPWH, nor was the ICI denied access to any office in the DPWH. ICI have received full cooperation and support
Yes,
from
sir.
the DPWH.
And I'm saying that they are saying that having been formed in the 3rd week of September, and Yusek Cabral's office was cleared in early September. So he's cleverly avoiding the fact that, bottom line, ICI, please confirm that they have not been given the list of proponents from the files of Yusek Cabral.
The files that you're mentioning.
And I can add, by the way, that they also told me in, I guess, what should have been a private conversation that I'm bringing to public now, that they've been asking the Committee on Appropriations of Congress to
Who's
release...
they? Sorry, who's they?
The ICI.
Okay.
The list of proponents in the budget approved by Congress. And this is widely known as being requested because Congressman Toby Chank has also been campaigning for the same to be released. And they said that Congress said that they do not want to release the list of proponents unless the members of Congress, they actually, strangely said this, unanimously vote to release the list of proponents.
Here's where you see the redundancy has a preventive effect on covering up all the documents. You're saying the computer files.
Because Cabral has the insertions in the NEP, Congress has the insertions in the House, and the Senate actually might also have some record of the insertions in the House.
Correct.
But also at least the BICAM.
But those insertions will find its presence in the NEP, because whatever insertions that you have that is not found in the NEP,
the proponent
has no value.
is what I'm referring to, because the point is the email account, for example, of the House of Representatives will have which congressman submitted this project.
Pero alam na natin yan, di ba? Nasa NEP na.
Because you would assume that the district congressman is the proponent. But ang lumalabas, some of these big-time
Magtagalog
contractors...
na tayo para matuto tayo magtagalog.
Tayong dalawa po. Ang lumalabas po...
no, seriously, just say in English if you find it.
Out of the 1 trillion pesos DPWH budget, 400 billion pesos is allocable to the district congressman.
That's the one.
I actually have this file, sir, that I also wanted to share with you. This was actually shared with me by Secretary Manny Bonoan.
Right.
As a hard copy, and then I asked him to let me keep it, and initially he did not want to, but I thank Yusek Cabral for sharing the files. The DPWH budget of 1 trillion is composed of 400 billion allocable, meaning the congressman chooses the projects in this 40% of the last budget. But beyond that, the extra budget is allocated between the central office, Congress, and the Senate.
Right.
And those include projects that are alleged to have been bought by contractors while the budget was being made.
I know of that situation where the contractors just no.
And what I'm saying is this is not only some allegation that is remaining unanswered, because there is a list in Yusek Cabral's office of the submissions of the contractors with names behind these projects, and there is also emails by the House Committee on Appropriations and the Senate Finance Committee of who submitted each of these projects.
Okay. My confidence is that at some point all those DPWH documents will be found, will have redundancies, because that's the idea of...
Except if it's in just one computer and then it was deleted.
That is the assumption that you're making,
yes.
But let's see, no? Because
I mean,
it's good for you to...
Don't you find it fishy that the ICI hasn't been given it until now?
No, we don't know that.
They said so. I'm saying on the record that, by the way,
that's something can be confirmed.
Chair Andy Reyes was also in this meeting. So was the former PNP chief, Azurin. They said, Congress hasn't given us the list of proponents.
You can't expect that from Congress.
What?
You won't be expecting that from Congress.
I'm just relaying what they said.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not questioning the intent
my
ICI.
thinking is more...
I think, by the way, the commissioners of ICI sincerely want to achieve their objective.
There's no doubt about that.
And they're just not being given the files by Congress and DPWH.
See, that's the problem with ICI. Its lack of subpoena powers enable people to avoid appearing or attending or providing documents. But my concern is, if it is true that DPWH refuses to give, then there is something wrong with the leadership of the DPWH. And so it is incumbent on you and on us to demand those documents and to further confirm from them if what you're saying is true and produce all the documents. Because as far as we know...
Can I ask you?
Yeah.
If what I'm saying is true, then what does that mean?
If what you're saying is true, then they're really concealing the documents. But my feeling is...
With what?
Because I've been with government also, there are always redundancy of documents. That's the comfort that I get. That there's only one source of... It's precisely to prevent graft, and precisely to prevent someone from tearing off or burning one set of documents, because there are other documents which are present.
But if it's true that ICI hasn't gotten it yet, why do you think?
Let's confirm them. He should have been asked. I mean, we could ask Attorney Hosaka. Maybe next time we can ask Attorney Hosaka to appear here and confirm what you say. And then that would be good for... And it's incumbent on you if they're... Just release it. I mean, why don't you just release all the documents? You have the documents. Cabral gave it to you. Bonoan gave it to you. damn house if they refuse to release it, if they order you not to release it. It'll be laudable for you if you decide
Yes.
to release it.
And actually, that's why I'm bringing this up now, because in Congress today, I'm going to be asking for permission to release what I have.
Good. And then let's also confirm with ICI if they have not received the documents that you mentioned, because that's also something that is negligent of the DPWH not to do so. So that's something that we should also call to task DPWH, confirm with them, have you or have you not submitted the documents that Congressman Leviste has been asking for.
And do you think that these documents should also be made public?
Of course, I'm a private person. There's a public interest. And, we've been with Pinoy. We've always battled for transparency and accountability.
By the way, I'd like to say this in fairness to members of Congress. People assume if a project is in their district, it's the congressman that proposed it.
The most likely is, but it's not true in all cases.
Actually, in the 2025 budget, the majority were not proposed by the district congressman.
And then all the more incumbent for you to release them.
It, I think, would also help clarify things for the district congressmen who park these projects in their districts.
Okay. Well, it's been a very, you should really decide whether to release or not. Your timelines are.
I will follow up with Congress.
You
on releasing it.
you cannot leave us hanging like Saldico does. So I would be happy for you to release.
I will make one commitment because of your suggestion, sir. I will release documents this week.
Good. So we'll see, and we have a long discussion. But on the upcoming big rally on November 30, are you in favor for calls for the president to resign? What about calls for the VP to resign? How would you answer those questions?
I think we should call for transparency at the very least. And when the information is all out in the public, then people can make a more informed decision.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you a categorical answer. Do you believe that the president should resign and also the vice president to resign because of this whole flood control scam?
Well, I'd like to know first who are the proponents in the projects in the DPWH budget, and then we can make a determination.
That's a separate issue.
Because I'm basically saying due process. Let me say this. The public only knows the tip of the iceberg in terms of what has happened on all these DPWH projects. So how can we form informed opinions if we don't even have this data?
So you're saying they should not resign?
I will submit
until such time that the
evidence that I have now, and I'm calling on other members of Congress and the DPWH to release other evidence so that the public can make an informed decision.
So you have these documents that you've sifted through.
And I have committed to you that I will release.
But let me ask you a question regarding that fearless question I asked. If you have evidence already of the shenanigans of all these congressmen and contractors, do you believe that the president is somehow complicit in this? Based on the documents that you have.
Can I say the following generally? You also having formerly been in government.
Yeah.
The corruption in government is worse than what the public knows.
So that's a yes.
Well, it's also
you can't ask me to
it's also
give
a point
me
of
a motherhood
pessimism
statement.
because it's always been corrupt, but I guess admitting that it's more corrupt now.
That's true. There's always leakage.
But if it's so overwhelmingly corrupt, what are we going to do? Not have a government? So I guess there's no good option for the country right now. But that's why I'm in favor actually of shrinking the size of government, because I think
I believe in small government.
Government spending to GDP was maybe just in the teens during the Pinoy administration, and now it's in the 20s. Mm-hmm. So we can probably shrink the size of our budget by 1/3 to bring it back to Pinoy admin levels.
Well, it depends on. We were very. In so far as Pinoy is concerned, he was very focused on making sure that the poorest of the poor their social welfare. Safety nets.
But even then, the percentage of GDP of government spending was just in the mid-teens.
And then we were accused of underspending. That's a problem. So, but we have to really do public spending because that really raises the GDP. Let me ask you another question. You are one of the youngest. You're 33, di ba?
I'm not that young anymore.
No, you're not young anymore. But you have another colleague, a young colleague, who is just as feisty as you are. How do you view Congressman Kiko Barsaga as a House colleague?
I highly respect all my colleagues in Congress for the unique contributions that they bring.
There was Congresswoman Michelle Co was here. He described his relationship with Kiko Barsaga as collegial, which I joked and said, ibig sabihin hindi kayo nag-uusap. Pero, ako question ako, you're single. At parati ko ito tinatanong eh. Have you ever been linked with any lady, or you're single forever, or what?
I'm very happy to be in Congress because I have something to keep me occupied. If I'm not, then I'm looking for things to do. Puro trabaho lang po.
Ako may tanong ako talaga. Ito, maybe our last question. Wala nang oras, ano? May plano ka bang maging presidente? Dahil maganda, the way I'm seeing, you're playing chess eh. So, others are playing checkers. You're playing chess to a certain degree that I think you're eyeing the presidency of the country.
Actually, sir, live life day to day. Different things happen all the time. But I think it's more important to focus on what you want to do than what you want to be. And
What you want to do and what you want to be.
no, than what you want to be.
Yes, yes.
And I'm inspired by this backdrop of BGC, by the way, because my dream for my district in Batangas is to make it the next metropolitan area after Manila.
Right.
And I actually previously thought that I could do that in the private sector. And
You can't?
well, maybe over time, but I think what you need is more economic zones in this country
Right.
that will allow people to do business without being strangled by government agencies and be competitive with other economic zones or commercial centers of other countries. And if the country only had more like that, then we would not all be dragged down by the problems here in Manila.
Okay.
That's perhaps a long answer to your question, but
And with that, I hope your dreams will be fulfilled,
Yes.
including being president of the Philippines.
well,
And thank you,
we would
Congressman
want
Leandro
to
Leviste.
develop the countryside in the Philippines.
Maraming salamat, Congressman Leandro Leviste,
Thank you.
for this nice exchange. So, this wraps up today's episode of The Spokes. For now, don't settle for just one side of the story because every issue, as you see here, has two perspectives, and the truth may be somewhere in between. I'm Attorney Edwin Lacierda. See you tomorrow again on The Spokes.
Thank you.
Okay.